How do I know it's live?
Because Murat says it's live.
It's live.
Hello, welcome architecture, product design and built environment students. Hopefully by now you know I'm Elena Marco, I'm the head of department for architecture and the built environment, and I'm going to try to explain you a bit how we are going to do this year, but also we are going to kind of try to capture some of the views of the last 18 months to see how can we do things better. So we are going to come back face to face. That has kind of been our approach. We felt that the university felt that this was the right approach for all of you based on your own feedback. We are going to not forget what we've learned from COVID either. So, you know, today, instead of making you come for a couple of hours into campus, just because, why don't we do it like we've done it? So you are able to kind of engage, let us know your thoughts and be part of the induction. So that will help us to really get to grips into how we are going to kind of get through the year. It has not been easy. I think I will remember that I have been working 18 months on that room at times, and now I am delighted to be back live into the department. And I know it has not been easy. I know in the, especially the final year students, it's not going to be what you would have expected from university. I never in my life would have thought that we would have a pandemic as the one we had had. So for me, it's just thinking about how we can reset for this coming year to make sure all of you have got a much better social aspect of the learning that we have lost for 18 months. And it has been, I recognize, very hard on you. And on us, I have got a 12-year-old and I have got my husband and I love them to bits, but thank God I'm back to work. So real life. So I hope some of you might feel kind of very similarly, but also some of you actually perversely, we have enjoyed lockdown in other aspects. So, you know, I understand that I have got in the department around 2,500 of you and 2,500 of you with very, very different perspectives and requirements, because, you know, we have got the you know, QSs, apprentices, building surveying, PDP students, real estate, architectural students, product design students, and all of you have got very different perspective on what will be best. And you will see that some pictures I've used in our open days, but I thought it was quite important to think about it. We miss seeing you. I've missed you to have kind of moments where we could just get together, go for a coffee, or just have the informal conversation that help reset some of the things that probably the online world completely missed of what we were doing. And for that was really important. So please remember that it's not going to be perfect, but how can we make it perfect? For example, just to start, this morning we had a power cut in Bristol, and that meant that, you know, all the systems went down. As you know, a lot of system has kind of gone down. A lot of people has told us that, you know, they haven't got petrol in their cars. So I need kindness, I need you to work with us, and I need you to somehow help me out to reset the next year. You know, we've also tried to reset how we work out the year in a way that might help you or give you breathing space on what we thought will be easier. So for example, next week, you will have your timetable as the second induction week, which we will launch all the modules, which we think is much better to just do it during the induction period. So then we can just kind of get on with the rest of the year face to face, and that will help us. So that will also allow us to have an enhancement week in the middle of the semester that some of the built environment students will use for kind of, you know, preparing for the synopsis of the dissertation. Some of the product design and architecture students will kind of be preparing for some of the handing-ins that they have. And I think that's a really nice set of kind of giving you a bit of a slightly better breathing space on the timetable that you probably had last year. So I know it has been hard, you know, when the first said, you know, all working from home and we will be there and it will be okay. In my life, it felt a bit like this. I thought, oh, wow, don't worry about the lockdown. Sometime a month later, it's just kind of, it was a very different experience. And probably none of us will want to, whatever happens, want to go back to 2020 in some aspects of our lives. One of the things you told me as students is you miss the social interactions, and obviously, sometimes we did moments of getting together with yourself, and that was something that you really valued. So, Andy, I think, do I need to kind of ask, with what we've done is, in a way, we don't want that to be, we want to go back to normal. We want you to kind of be safe. We want to be right for what we do. But at the same time, we also want to capture some of your views. Do we do it now?
So it's all running. It looks like about 40 of you or so are going through the Menti. So fill it out all the way through this session. Some of the questions, like 3 things to get right, for us to get right for you.
For you.
You can do a couple of times, so multiples of 3, I suppose. But it's really useful because we're not tracking you personally, but we'll know what's important for certain courses. And so it will help Elena and I, program leaders, module leaders, to say, that's important for construction project management or QSing or
architecture
ATD.
or ATD or product design.
Okay, so I really appreciate nice, honest, polite feedback, and we'll do our best. Okay?
But please be constructive. I know there is a lot of frustration. I know there is a lot of things that have not worked right, but it's not for us lack of trying. I promise you. So anything we can do to kind of get it better for you is what we want to do and what we want to work with you. Remember that we continue having our departmental journal of best practice, where some of you want to kind of, you can send your contributions to, all of you across all programs. And also, remember that, yes, we will have to improvise, because at points, I will have my staff that will be ill. I will have you that will be ill. There will be the government that might impose us another lockdown or no lockdown. We might not have the fuel. So we are going to have to be flexible enough to make sure we get you through. For me, the first step is getting you through Christmas, and then to make sure that we get you to graduation in a way that you enjoy very much. Hopefully, okay? I'm just trying my best here. One of the things is we continue being very much engaged with the profession, and we've got all the professional bodies. So, for example, we have got our CIPSI accreditation coming in a week's time, which is for our architecture environmental engineering courses and for our building services engineering courses. And we also will have all the accreditation coming in 2 months or so for all our RICS programs. So that is real estate, property development and planning, QA and QSs, and building surveying. So that is going to be really, really important. And we just had the accreditation last summer from the RIBA for all our architecture courses. And we will also have in June the accreditation for the IAD for the product design courses. So remember those things as well, because the accreditation of the programs is very important going forward for yourself and for us to make sure we continue being very robust. I'm still committed into diversity and climate change, and that is one of the things. Last year, it was very interesting because all of you have got very different personal situations. All of you, some of you was really tricky, and some of you thrived during lockdown. Some of you had very tricky personal situations. Some of you didn't have the right internet connection, where you couldn't, you couldn't work in apps everywhere. And it's really, really challenging. One of the things is keep coming with the Menti is how, unmotivated, isolating, frustrated you were as a consequence of that. And I can understand that because, it happened to me. It was just really hard at times. And, sometimes we underestimate the power of conversations, forcing you to be here in a way that allows you to interact with other people, because sometimes it really helps you to just keep you back on track or to give you a sense of belonging. I think maybe my Spanish, in Spain, this idea of going out for drinks and the social aspects of lives and things like that is tremendously important. And I would say that any university life is really, really important. So some lectures adapted really well. So, I can see what's happening, like, people like Danny Elbridge did really, really well, and how kind of he did the labs online. And it's just really nice to see the comments and this kind of giving me some insight of how you felt. And that is really important for me. And mainly it's just sometimes I don't want to lose what we gain as a consequence of the lockdown, but at the same time, it felt to me that some of the problems in relation to isolation, stressfulness, frustration, that sometimes we can help resolve with informal conversation is what we've missed the most. And how I end up kind of helping you out to do that in this coming year is going to be really important for me. For me, it's just it won't be perfect, but I hope that by working with you and trying to get it as right as we can will help you to hopefully navigate a much more different year for the final years, a much more different final year. And from all the ones that they come from the second year, it's just feeling that you are part of a completely different type of university life, a much more social and civic university, if that makes any sense, that I will kind of love to know. We will continue as well, and I hope you will help us to continue, giving back, because in a way I felt while it was really hard, it was also, I felt quite privileged, if that makes any sense, because I was not, I was not in the front line of the NHS, and being able to kind of give back. So we had students and staff and some of the technician staff that, they did PPE for the NHS when everything kind of, the lockdown started, and feeling that we can do certain things or certain practices to give something back is really, really important. I really hope this is some of the pictures that some of you sent me during your lockdown times, that this is not going to be the environment that you are working in. And some of you had kind of really tricky situations and really difficult ones. And some of you were really honest about your challenges. And one of the things I learned is how important was to listen to yourselves. And it was not perfect to get the balance, but what it allowed me to do is just trying to kind of see how we could reach out to you and how could we reach out in a way that actually was very supportive. Kind of, yes. So I was just scratching the idea of new practices, mainly because I thought, it's all well to do it from home, but it's all well as well, the kind of the friendships, the bonding, the sense of belonging, making sure we have got informal conversations. I think that is as important as what we will offer within the curriculum. And for me, what I want to go back is this, end of the year shows, employment events with boot camps events for, the built environment students, life projects for the product designers, shows for the product designers and architectures, engagements with practice, or, real estate and property development and planning, going to town to do the auction, taking you to a boat trip, and starting to engage on maybe this year, just because what it will mean, much more kind of local and UK-based type of experiences, field trips, kind of exhibitions, site visits, a range of things that kind of give us this going back out there is going to be really, really important. I know it's not going to kind of be perfect this year, because there will be a lot of situations and a lot of unknowns as well, which is going to be very frustrating. I already have got some people that is self-isolating this week, and I've got the students which will happen the same, and all of us are going to be able to adapt, flip, and be resilient. But in a way, you've also learned how to do it, and in a way, you have learned what works, what doesn't. But for me, the most important thing is let's get back together live. Let's get back that kind of socialness that will help us have the informal conversations that will help you in some cases not to feel so isolated. And I want to get you there. I want to get you in the final graduating moment of kind of, celebrating together, not just on a screen, the end of the year. But also at the same time, it's not forgetting that there's been some good things, like, today I think Merat saying that there was around 400 of them for 40 of you. Normally we get 60 coming on the reconnection sessions. So we've learned as well that there are certain things that you will say, okay, I'm going to go there because, Elena will say this or that, or I will be able to do that. When other times you might have felt not coming for an induction when it's in a reconnection session that is just for a couple of hours of your time. So for me, that also is important, is making sure that we get it as right as possible. Some of you might have already engaged on 5, 7, 8, here you are, almost 600 of you. That is almost half of you of returning students, which is quite impressive. Normally I only get 60 or 70 of you. Remember that there is also the zero carbon awareness. If you haven't done it, that Patrick O'Flynn is running through an induction, and you might love to do it because it's really good credentials in terms of becoming carbon literate, and it's just something that you can show to your employers. And also some of you will get very much involved in the societies and student societies, and I will continue supporting them. Also make sure that you engage in any projects that we do and you are aware in the different courses, because that will help you out as well as kind of building that network of activities that you have. And, we try to kind of demonstrate or fill up some of the good social media things. We use social media to try to showcase what we do in the department, because sometimes you think, oh, you complain, or we are frustrated, or you just think everything is wrong. But sometimes I go to other places as external examiner, as doing reviews, as going to see other schools of architecture and built environment, and you realize, how good you are with us and how good we are with you, because we try to get that dialogue to make sure we get it as right as possible. And it's not perfect. And as a head of department, I'm tremendously ambitious for you and for me. I love to win. I love, my husband works at Bath University, and I love to beat him. So I love to beat him in the student satisfaction surveys that some of the final years will have to do this year. And just because I think you are amazing, we try our best, and we do, I think, a bloody good job compared to some other universities that have not done such a good job. Not that we get it right, okay, I know that. And for me, it's just trying to make sure that we keep beating and showing that you are fantastic. And sometimes I think, how do I know that? And when you think about your department that has got 96% of you have got a job after 6 months after graduation, I would say when you have got 2,500 of you, or around 600 graduating every year, undergraduate and postgraduate, that's pretty impressive. So you must be doing something right. Your degrees are valued by the employers. They think that we are kind of giving you the right skills. And as a consequence of that, I think you should be really important. But yes, you will have to work for your degree. And I think it's worth to do that, because that is what you will end up giving you the fact that you are able to be in employment so quickly after you've completed it. I also recognize some of you need a bit of a break. You think, oh my God, Elena, I want to have a year out. And I have got people who have done incredible things. Some people have gone and built bamboo houses in the Amazon River. Someone else just went to learn how to fly to Los Angeles. So you have got a range of you that you said, I need a break, Elena, I had enough. And that is also fine. And I think it's really important. I think, do we want to share some of the elements? So I think Andy is going to share some of the responses of the mentee now, because I think it's really important. Sometimes we see our personal situations and that we don't see ourselves in the context of what's going on and how all of you are feeling. So we thought it would be really good to kind of get even some people saying if they're in the right room. But can we just go into the mentee and then see what we can just give you a flavor of what you told us, if that makes any sense.
So we've got things like, do we have to wear masks all the time?
Yes. So the government doesn't require that, but I think it's really important to get the etiquette right, because we have got vulnerable students and vulnerable staff. So if you were able to wear the mask, it will feel right and it will feel much more safe to be here. So I think, why don't we start with a really good ground rules of saying, let's be courteous with each other and wear the masks.
So we've got things like, will lectures that are in person be recorded? Yes.
Yes.
We won't necessarily be streaming them live, but they'll be there for revision purposes and for catch up. And you should be receiving lecture materials before the lecture, so you're aware about the topics that are going to be covered and used. If they're not, actually,
let us know.
Let us know.
Let us know.
Actually, remind your module leader, and you can copy us in if you want, but that's what it should be. There are some modules that there will be reasons why they're not going to record it, and they should be clear with you why they're not. We don't have too many of those in our department. So scrolling through. So a few of you are really involved in clubs and societies, and so you're therefore involved in the Freshers Fair, which is brilliant. So all of these sessions over these 2 weeks are going to be recorded. The sessions that, this is the third one that we've done this morning. We'll be posting those on to programme and programme sites in the department page, so people will be able to catch up on those, and that'll be true for the modules that are happening next week. So if you're involved in societies, that should be okay.
Will exam be in person or online? So at the moment, I think we are kind of you will have to kind of look at every one of your modules, because what we've tried to do is kind of a mix of kind of assessments. So what we are trying to do is be aware. I don't think any exams will be happening as before for now.
Just mine.
Just yours?
But that's online.
Online.
Yeah.
So there will be some exams that will take place online, and there will be some kind of different assessment that we've changed it just because the situation we are still in, but every module leader will be able to let you know how kind of will happen or how we will do that. Licenses.
So a few people have asked about software. Apps Anywhere is still the current method of getting hold of software for computers that are on campus. I've got a member of staff just out of the corner of my eye that is very happy about that. Software will be on the university machines, and you can access that at home. And it's improving. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it is improving. What we need you to do, though, is to make your voice heard directly with IT when it's not working, because as much as I enjoy gadgets and trying to solve things, I need them to hear it directly from you and our staff and myself when something isn't working. But Adobe, Sketchup, all the Autodesk products should be available on Apps Anywhere from next week. That we do know of that Sketchup is slow to arrive onto the UWE machines, but that's going to be the way of getting hold of that. So things like crits and reviews, I think that's a really good question, and one to put directly to your studio leaders when you see them next week. Some studios will be doing some online crits to involve people that are from out of town to help. But I'm excited, actually. The best bit for architecture education is to share the design skills, the design issues, things that how we're going to work with the built environment, and to actually have reviews in person. So I'm really looking forward to those, because they're not a criticism, they should be actually a positive discussion.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. I saw somewhere else, a few students have mentioning the City Studio. There's a few reasons why we've not circulated everything for that at the moment, but Fidel and I hopefully be able to circulate how that's going to work when you meet us on Thursday, Friday this week.
So for the rest of the department to know, it's like we are going to have a presence in the city. It's really important. It's like an office, and we are kind of first starting working with the Masters of Architecture and also some of the MSc BIM students, that they will be able to kind of also access those elements. And the idea is to have a much bigger presence in the city, be visible in the city, because there is more opportunities that we need to capitalize, because we've got the best employers there. So what we want to do is just give you almost like a office-like space, a practice-like space. And we thought I was not going to say no, if that makes any sense. I hope it's right, if that makes any sense.
But the bit that I just want to say now is it's, so MArch will be using JISC, or this building that's in town. They're not being banished from our block. And there will be some space that's still in our block that you can use, because we're 24 hours here. And there's computers and equipment that will be installed in the studio in town as well. So that it's, we're seeing it as an expansion of the offer rather than moving people to a different location. But talking to employers over the last couple of weeks, we're hoping that we can then use the lecture theatre that's down there to also have a much closer relationship with professional practice as well. And that's true for surveyors and a lot of the other elements of the built environment, which we sometimes struggle to get up to front show. So it needs to be seen as a positive thing.
Will there be, how do we keep, go back up a bit? Yeah. How will you keep the enthusiasm within the course? We are trying. We are really trying. We need a bit of fun. I know this is really hard to say, but I think all of us need a bit of fun in the whole thing. So, you know, hopefully what we want to do is try kind of by being here and being informal conversations and start kind of getting to kind of know you more, not through a screen, but in reality, in kind of physical, is going to be really important. I hope that will be part of the fun. How people actually join built environment societies. Yes, so the built environment societies is done through the student union, actually. So you will be able to join them through the student union. You have got these societies and you are able to join through there. So yes, thank you very much for letting us. Anything that is missing from the timetables, we'll get it right. So I think it's architecture, environmental engineering year 4. So we'll get it right. But yes, you have collaborative practice on Thursday afternoons. Online for now. No. So the vice chancellor has been quite specific that, you know, we are back face to face because of the challenges that you have faced yourself on the kind of the last couple of years, and the fact that we want to give you the university life. So the classes are back to normal, it's face to face, and it's very tricky because there is no, you know, you are 2,500 of you and there is no one particular solution and you've got very personal circumstances. But I think we kind of need to be firm on kind of what it will be and making sure that it is what we do best as well.
So 2 things. So the power cut this morning has meant that my UWE's been down for a bit. I managed to get in the Collaborate room earlier, so that's back, and parts of my UWE is back as well. I think the student timetables is still patchy, right, at best. Somebody else has asked about testing for the COVID rapid tests. Staff and students have got the same instruction, twice a week. You can pick up tests. We normally end up picking them up in X block.
Or in the information point downstairs?
Yeah, info point in Q block. And yeah, I think it's a different path. It's something that we've got to do for each other, and it's the same as wearing masks when we're a bit close.
I've got my mask on as well, just in case you were wondering.
But yeah, tests are there.
So the classes it won't be streamed, but it will be recorded, and we might have to flip at some certain points, but the idea is to make sure we continue recording, and that's just good practice because it works for you. You know, someone like is an international, I was 21 years ago when I came to the UK, I was an international student, my English was not very good, and, you know, having the recording lectures would have been a massive plus for me because you just can listen to them and kind of, so we try to make sure we don't lose the good bits that we've done. In some cases, we've got a mix of things that has worked really well, that have worked for you, and you thought that have worked. And there will be some elements of that, especially on kind of massive classes, like there are over 200, that might be elements of online, but kind of making sure that we have got the face-to-face. So what we are trying to do is just make it, learn from the COVID to bring you back.
So there's somebody's asking about, saying they're feeling very anxious about coming back to campus. That's true for staff as well. And so everybody's trying to find their way about going about it. If you find that it's affecting you, you can talk to staff if you're happy to do that. But I would also encourage you to use the support services that you can access via the info points as well. And actually tell us, don't suffer in silence, please. I think that's very important. And that's the same advice we're giving for staff and students.
Yeah.
Other people are asking about when to apply for jobs. Well, let's see. So we've got quantity surveyors in here and parts of the built environment. You start looking for jobs pretty much from now, and this is the point from now to probably about February, when a lot of the built environment jobs are there. There are online job fairs, employment fairs, I think they call them here, that are in October and November. So register on those. They're using a funny app called Handshake, I think. So those are going. The architectural side of
And product design side.
it's a bit later.
January.
Yeah, from January. And for those that are looking at practices up to about 20 people, they probably only start advertising their jobs from May. So
however, one thing it would be worth to say is what happens with the built environment courses that some of the architectural students also will apply is that they have got very good graduate schemes. Well, in the architectural world, those graduate schemes happens on the big multidisciplinary practice, but not so much in the smaller one or medium range, things like that. So you need to think about that from that perspective. So what happens is normally what happens, a lot of the multidisciplinary big practices or much more built environment practices, like, you know, working for Savills or JAL, Wilmore Dixon or BAM, which are big contractor or big property companies, those ones will have very clear graduate schemes. And those ones, you have to start looking at them now. But then for the architectural ones, when you're looking at medium-sized schemes or in practice, or those ones, kind of January is a good starting point, because that's when, because what happens is you've got part-time, part one students, or part two students, and when the cycle of them finish, or they go back to university, or they kind of end up kind of changing practice, is when they look for the next batch. Okay,
so the zero carbon course is running again this and next week. If you did it last year, although it's gone through some minor changes, and if you want to do it again, you can. But the general advice from Patrick was to not do it unless there was a particular reason why you wanted to do it as a refresher.
Or refresher skill up, yeah.
How much time and effort? I think it's 4 sessions of about an hour and a half or so, and there are small tasks that go with each session, and that's probably about as detailed as I could get on it. Although Patrick has sent out an announcement about the zero carbon course, which, if you didn't receive it on Friday, you'll also see it on the department Blackboard page when Blackboard's back up and running after this power cut. I think it's there now, but you could look there. Things like my attendance. One of the benefits of the power cut is my attendance isn't working yet, so I can't give you a code. So I'm writing off today in terms of that. But all sessions should have a my attendance code, and I think that's really important from next week, because then because
it's really important for international students because it's for your visa requirements, but also it's very important for apprentices. The apprentices, all of you must, and the international students must use my attendance and request the code. And then also in relation to the rest of the students, it's really important for us to kind of know that you are okay and you're engaging. So please also use the code, because otherwise you might end up kind of getting an email from me saying, where are you? And you say, I've been there, Elena, but I haven't been registered. You need to kind of enter your code. And another question you have, there is going to be field trips. So we will try to get you out somewhere, but as the head of department responsible for health and safety, and having seen what has happened to staff and students, I cannot risk it to do international field trips this year as such, but we are aiming to get you out somewhere and do things, and you will see that we are trying to plan activities or seeing things that you have not been able to see. But I am, you know, I have seen some of the consequences of doing a trip, and I don't want that to happen to any of you. So we will try to bring back some of the engagement with the idea of field trips, but in which form or shape, we are going to see how it goes. But the idea is to give something back, and we will give something back regardless. So kind of, but we'll try that. The idea is UK-based trips, let's do them. And then kind of for now, let's not risk the health and safety of yourselves and the staff.
So workshops in our block and Q block are going back to 24 hours. Actually, no, not the timber workshop down there. That's normal office hours. But the main campus is going back to 24/7. What we've been working with Jeff and Jamie downstairs is that all of the studios will have their own, some of their own tools within the studios as well. So it's a bit easier for everybody to work safely, out of hours as well.
Will there be uncapped receipts? The answer is yes. That's part of going to be for the future. It's going to be uncapped receipts. However, be very careful, because if you leave everything for the summer submission, you do tend to not have time and not realize how tired you are. My advice would be, as someone who has been educated in an uncapped university, be very careful to not leave anything for the summer receipt if you can, because you are unable to cope and you don't realize how tired you are by May. So that would be my advice. And then you tend to not do as well as you think you will do because you don't plan well.
Somebody's asked, has parking got any easier?
Well,
we lost one car park because of the hospital, and that was bang on
That's
the right
back.
call to have the hospital, but that's now the car park for the
vaccination.
jab clinic, or whatever we
But
call it.
they use the small one, so it's
Okay.
slightly better. So it's much better than has been in the last year, if that makes any sense. But just make sure that you plan.
It's tougher than it was 2 years ago, I think, because there's also the car parks that are on the other side of the campus. Is that 1 and 2? They've got parts of those are being used for other things. Somebody's asked about, as I said, they've not been able to get their second jab. I'm fairly sure you can just get it done at the ECC. And if you want to complete all your jabs, then at least it's here.
Yeah, so my advice would be try to get vaccinated if you can. We are, and it's just gives a sense of safeness to all of you and your peers, because some of you will end up with friends that they are clinically vulnerable, and the same with the staff, and we need to learn to live with it.
So good question from somebody about internships. Funding for internships is normally released sometime in the spring. It's something that UWE's kept going throughout my time here. I can only hope that it will be here next summer as well. We've had lots of people going through internships this summer, just been. And I think you just have to keep an eye open for when that news comes. But that might be another route for those that have mentioned that they've not done a placement year and they're feeling like they might have missed out. Talk to your module leaders about what you feel like you've missed out on. And it might be they can give you some advice about that for your discipline. Other people have talked about the CAD, Revit, Photoshop boot camps that we run, and those apply to all corners of our department. So for building surveyors and QSs, if you know that Revit and BIM are going to play a big part of your career, we will be offering Revit boot camps through the year as normal. We're looking at doing the boot camps for portfolios and model making as well with some external providers.
We do the Argus training for the real estate and the property development and planning students as well, and the masters. So that is part of our offer as well.
Please don't use a Mac for doing Argus training.
No, Mac doesn't work for Argus, okay? I'm really, really sorry. It's not my fault. It's Argus' fault. Argus is not compatible with Macs. So get that in your heads.
Well, interesting bit. Are we using the new engineering block?
Yes, we are.
You used that building before
the engineers were in.
When it's not booked, it's there. There's also an amazing VR lab that's in the bottom.
And the concrete lab.
And we're looking about how we use it. And it's only really just being commissioned, because that's an amazing resource that the employers I was talking to last week are just bowled over, because they have to go to their international offices to use things like that. So more about that later once Justin's on.
So some of you will end up using the spaces as you did, because you are really crafty and really good, and we are using some of the workshops. But you know, it depends on what is being Timetable.
I've had an email from somebody on CPM saying that they weren't aware of all the sessions. Aidan's got that. I don't know what the solution is, but this session is being recorded. And we'll work out where we're posting it on Blackboard later this week, including this Q&A bit. So I think that's good. And we'll get it up there. Somebody's asked about Sketchup and Vray boot camps. Yes, we're doing those. We've also got Twinmotion. So Jonathan Bassendell is quite happy about that. So am I, because Vray is horrible. I think
Do we internship open for international students? Yes. No? Not the ones that Ramin does.
Oh, yeah,
yes, some of them are. Yeah, so we've got some specific ones that we will do that they are open for international students. There are other ones that they are much more part of the requirements of, they are not part of the UWE number of hours that you might not be able to accessible, but as many as we've been able to do that in your say visa considerations, we've made them available to you as well. I think we've answered, have we got to the bottom of it more or less? It's not perfect for all of you, but there are 500 of you here, still 500, Murat. I have Mac, I have lab recommenders to get for architecture. Okay, so that one, we will get some of the staff to answer those questions next week. 560, could you explain what we need to do for tomorrow and next day, as the timetable even says there is nothing? Yes, so the reconnecting students, this is induction week for the returning students. So it's the it's not like the new students. So we have got less activities. There is the zero carbon that is open to those ones hasn't done it. But then this week is just much more, let's get back into this swing of things. Next week, you will see that we've got early launching of the modules, because then the the 2 weeks of induction becomes something meaningful for us to do. And then what we've done is we've given you an enhancement week in the middle of the semester that you will see, which is gives the built environment students time for getting the synopsis and the preparation of some of the courseworks, and it gives a bit of time for the architecture students to prepare for the dissertation, and it gives a bit of time for the product designers in terms of some of the assignments that they have got in the first semester. So what we try to do is just be clever about how we use the time and how to do it to make sure that you are benefited. So
the tricky bit, somebody's asked quite rightly about the timetable for the rest of the week, because some of you can't see it. I'm going to have to work with the program leaders, see what we can get you, and it might be that I can't do it because I can't coordinate 20 odd programs multiple years. I'll really never get any sleep. So I'll talk to them about what can happen there. ROVA mentee mentoring program. Yep, it will be back up and running. You won't hear anything from me until probably late November, but it will be open to all of the architectural programs,
including ATD and interior architecture. Yeah. Do we get vaccinated in campus if we are not vaccinated? Yes, you can. We've got a vaccination center. So that's the idea. It's like, if you have been able to get your vaccination, you can do it here, and that will be really good. Yes, you cannot see all the modules. Yes, will be exam be possible? Will online? So yes, so I think there will be a mixture. So again, we are going to have to be pragmatic about this. So the module leaders will let you know, but we won't be able to get you all in one class as you were used to in maybe in the first year, and then just put you doing exams. So it's going to be slightly different, and a range of different type of assessment during the year.
Those of you that are in the second year, please don't bombard Mike yet. But what he normally does is he'll come into second year major modules for those programs that have what would have been called the Erasmus,
which is Turing scheme.
So he will then coordinate with the major modules that you'll be in anyway, explain the rules and processes, selection processes that they have. But just don't bombard him yet. He normally comes in late October.
Yeah. So at the moment, we think we have been successful with the Turing scheme. So there will be some sort of international program of exchange in those programs where we can have them. We have to be texted. So this is good practice, the vaccination and testing. It's good practice to get the lateral test flows if you can, especially if you feel any symptoms or you know people that has got it, because it's really important to make sure that you don't pass it. I'll explain you a little, I think. I'm Spanish this summer. I had my youngest friends, kids, like 21, like the same ages that some of you might have been here. They went on holidays to Mallorca. They just had the time of their life. And then they were just doing some summer, in Spain, they do colonies for little kids. And they went straight from the holidays in Mallorca to the colonies with the kids. And they spread COVID everywhere. And some of the kids to be home with his grandparents, and one of them I know really close by end up in UCU, and the little girl came back to me and said, Elena, I would not be able to live with myself. And the kind of the monitor that was from the area where I live, he said he wouldn't have been able to do that. So sometimes those things happens, and one of the things I've kind of my motto has been is like, what happens if the worst scenario takes place? Would I be able to live with the behaviors I have kind of exhibited? And the answer for me is no. So I wear my mask. I try to make sure I kind of do my lateral flow testings with my son every Wednesday and Sundays to make sure I am conscious of making sure that you are all safe. My staff is as safe as possible.
Bits on, if you can't see, I can see a few people saying they can't see all their modules yet. Info points, the best way to go around that. If as a cohort, you know you're not seeing everything correctly, so AE4, not being able to see collaborative practice, that sounds like something that I can resolve. But if I get lots of individual requests about odd modules, there's no way I'll be able to deal with it. So if you think your cohort's affected by an incomplete package of modules, let me know and I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, it's like saying QS second year, we don't see this, or AE fourth year, we don't see that. And if we get one email, then we will just sort it out to make sure that, you know, we get you sorted as soon as possible.
The modules should all be live by next Monday. In any case, but you'll be able to see that they've not been released and switched on at this stage, but they should be all on by next Monday. Apps Anywhere is the only way of accessing Adobe. If it's the only system it doesn't work on is Chromebooks, so you need to explain to IT what's not working with it. I would suggest doing it as a phone call because it's far quicker, because we're putting we're working with them, putting pressure on them to improve their guidance to you and us about how you update your licenses. So as you all know, Adobe, Autodesk, and
Revit, and all the different programs.
All of those, they update each year. So as an architect or a quantity surveyor, you're not an IT expert. What we need is guidance from our IT partners about how to upgrade the packages. So I need you to engage with IT to do that. And that's what you'll end up doing when you hit practice. No employer is going to expect you to update Revit and Adobe, not when you can provide services to clients instead.
Gosh, the amount of questions.
Yeah, it's going good.
Are we going through? Yes, so what's up anywhere? What's Apps Anywhere, Andy? Tell the students what Apps Anywhere is, or nowhere.
So Apps Anywhere is a way of accessing the license for software. It isn't, it references a download. So things like Autodesk, you click on the button for AutoCAD and it sends you to Autodesk to get the download. So you obtain the software in the conventional way, but it means you pick up our license on the way. And then as soon as the license is solved, then it will all work. The bugs in the system is if you've had a trial version, a previous version last year, or you've got license baggage left behind, then it needs a little bit of work to try and correct it. But it is the way in which you can access all of your software. Quite an interesting question later on about, are there maps of campus available? Part-time second year students, quite rightly, probably haven't been to campus more than half a dozen times. Simplest advice is just Google UWE French A campus map, and you'll find the updated one on our internet page, because you'll notice some of the car parks have changed. ECC went to hospital, now gone to a clinic, so probably pull off the latest one. The other one is actually Google Maps has got the room names or numbers within Google Maps, so that's improved over the last year as well. I thing.
Will the undergraduate be able to use the place in the city? First, we need to get this place in the city because we are going through the planning permission stage of change of use. So as soon as we have that, we will try to make sure that some, we do certain activities that you also have able to kind of enjoy the idea of being in the city at some points. So we will kind of balance that as best as we can. I'm conscious of the time, and kind of we are trying. So the modules at the moment, this is the induction, first week of induction. We've got another week of induction where we will launch the modules. Therefore, most of the modules will be live on your kind of Blackboard for next kind of week onwards when the staff has been launching the modules. So we are just now kind of finalizing and things like that. We're also making sure that you all are enrolled, because some of you are enrolled, some of you kind of have difficulties, some of you, I was saying that some of you have got modules that you've already done, but they're still appearing on your timetable, and that needs to be corrected. And so I think we have to kind of, give ourselves a couple of weeks to kind of get everything into gear. But the good thing is, because we are using the second week of induction to introduce your modules, that is going to be very, very helpful.
So we're just going to wrap up in a minute. I've just got one slightly selfish plea. I know that myself, James, Elena, Jim, Drew, we'll always try to solve problems. But if there's something that's not quite working with your module, please approach your module leader first. And that's true for the modules I run.
And mine.
Because it's just easier. Then if that's not resolved, approach the program leader. And then if it's got to that stage, it's obviously quite serious. And then we can get involved in those bigger, more strategic issues. We do want to help, but I would appreciate if we can follow that sort of sequence, because often there are solutions that are very easy, and going straight to the module leader solves it for the following week. And then we can all get on with a good experience and actually enjoying working with you. And
do we have the other questions? Will you ask? And I just want to kind of, it's important, the other ones, the other mentees that we had in the, because I think it would be quite nice to remember some of the big challenges as well, and the big things that you want us to do better. So we need to get right: support, social learning and fun, human connectivity, and had a threat experience last year, workload, communication, transparency and clarity are the things that we need to get right. Mass safety support, more one-to-one feedback to discuss work and help each other out. That's some of the peer support, kind of, getting the feedback right. Look out for us when we are lost. Is important for yourself. Communication, flexibility and trust. Interesting lessons, we do try. However, sometimes we need also to kind of make sure we do the basics that maybe is kind of a bit not as kind of fun, if that makes any sense. Time for assignments, refresh some skills that weren't able to use in lockdown, allow students to share their experiences, interaction, collaboration and workload, balance communications between module leaders is quite important for yourself. Teaching support and communications, it seems to me that be kind, caring and understanding, no more online classes. I think it will be a bit of both, hopefully, and a bit of not lose what we've learned either, if that makes any sense. Better digital access. For us, one thing is feedback and communication seems to be the two. Feedback, communications and workload seems to be really important for yourselves. It seems to be coming through everything. We will have to understand that we need to readjust back into face-to-face learning, and it's important for yourself. Support for students doesn't sleep with online teaching, checking emails and being kind to us. We do try, but kind of, for example, today I have got 2,500 of you that I've done an induction, and probably I will have received 100 emails, but obviously from one induction I go to the next one and I have not been able to respond, and I feel guilty about doing that. So also be kind to us, because it's just sometimes you yourself as an individual send an email and I might get 400 of yours that I'm not able to answer in the speed that I need. So being understanding, and sometimes if it's very specific things for the cohort, just making sure that you talk to the module leaders or to talk as a cohort as well to help us out to resolve it as soon as possible. Timetable communication, see each other, talk and laugh. Yes, a bit of humor is what we need. I think it's just being able to have a bit of humor. I can't change some of the decision. I can influence, and I will do in terms of the things, but I can't change government decisions. I wish I could. I wish I could. I would have a few firm conversations with some of them in terms of what has happened, but I can't. So there is certain things that are not beyond my reach. Don't hit me if you can. Communication and support seems to be really, really important for all of you. Any other one that we have got from the other questions?
I'll have a quick look and then we probably should
Some of them you said that you didn't have anything good that happened. And that's also about mindset. It's like, how do we make sure we reset, to make sure we have got the mindset to have something that kind of drives us? And it's very difficult to get it right. No, it was the one that we said, think the other one.
Okay.
Positive friends also have been a good one there.
That's what you're looking at.
Yeah, and then we had the other ones.
The other ones are roadmap.
So the three things that like the 5 things that came most strongly from all of you in relation to think about the last year and describe how you felt in one word has been isolated and challenging. By far are your 2 stronger words: lonely, different, anxious, lost, stressed, disconnected and stressful, frustrated and overwhelmed, unmotivated, confused, depressed, overwhelming, strange are some of the most strongest feelings that kind of are much more resonating with yourselves. And that's part of the things that we want to bring you back here, is to try to kind of challenge some of those feelings that were really, really difficult for yourself last year. But it's just, you have got very personal situations for the 2,500 of you, and it's making sure that we get the right sweet spot that works for all of you. And we will go, Handy and I will go through every single comment that you've put today, because I think that is a really good indication as well for us to know things that we need to kind of be much more, tell program leaders, module leaders in certain things of how to help you out more, especially because I think all of us feels a bit fragile coming back, and the unknown, and kind of, it's been different. And it would be really good to kind of just try to make sure that we take those things on board to make sure we support you the best we can. They are very, very big feelings here, and they are very, I can see that, it has not been easy for yourself, but you also have to think about it. It has not been easy for ourselves as well. And, I had staff living by themselves, and very staff as well in critical situations, staff that has had got COVID as well. And it has not been easy for yourself, but it has not been easy for ourselves. And in a way, I have to thank you, because in a way, you have been good, and you have been more resilient than I ever thought you would be. And I'm quite impressed and amazed by what you've done. And I think you should never underestimate what you have achieved, feeling how you are telling me that you have felt the last year. And keep that positive mind. Is really important to go forward. Thank you.
Great.
It's been really good. Thank you for letting us kind of get your views, and thank you for engaging. It's just been really, really useful. And keep talking to us. I'll try to kind of get through, and I'll get through the emails that I've got here to try to answer back, because obviously it's been a tricky day today as always. And let's keep the humor. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. I'll see you about the place.